All right, well, we are a few minutes in, so I'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Welcome or welcome back to BRIC's Pre-Apprenticeship Speaker Series, where we aim to give you an inside look at the various careers across entertainment, media, and tech with help from the industry pros themselves. I'm Sarah, I'm BRIC's Director of Communications and your moderator for the series, and today we're joined by our very special guest here, Paul Gabory, sorry, who is a
Good.
senior product development manager for ZBrush at Maxon. He'll show us how to create characters, vehicles, toys, collectives, and much more using ZBrush. He'll delve into a bit about the history of the industry standard software and how it's really sculpted some of the biggest film and game worlds that we know today. Before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that we like to do Q&A here in this series. So be sure to ask us any of your questions along the way using that little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen there to ask Paul anything that comes to mind as you listen to his presentation. And with that, Paul, I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Excited to be here with you all and walk you through some history of ZBrush and the journey of it and what it's done for artists and people. So, a quick thing, obviously, I encourage questions. Okay. We don't want this to be me just standing on my box talking because then you're just getting a lot of bad jokes occasionally, and you guys aren't going to like that very much, but you're still going to get them regardless. And a lot of them really stem to the 80s because darn it, 80s was amazing. And I'm an 80s kid, and we're rocking and rolling it. I am in the LA area. So if someone that, again, that are in LA areas, we have some offices in Thousand Oaks, and then a part of our team is here in the LA area as well. But again, for those not in the area, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to share my information with you all so you guys can see that. So this is my information. This is my email. So if you guys do want to reach out for anything after this or want to talk about anything at all, I'm more than happy to help you out and discuss everything with you. That's actually a portrait someone made of me in ZBrush, and the gremlin probably gives it away because I got gremlins all over me. I am a big Gremlins fan. I have, in fact, a copy of the original Spike from the original Gremlins above me here, and I've made my own gremlin and 3D printed it right here in this little office space that I have. So this is actually done by an artist. So this is fun stuff for me. So I'm not going to spend the entire time in PowerPoint because that's not my style. I want to get into ZBrush as well. Give you guys some live interaction with ZBrush so you can really get. So is anybody even currently using ZBrush? I know there was one, right? Is there Linda? I think you said you were using ZBrush. And are you guys all by yourself or do you guys have some students with you? Because I would encourage if you do have some students, if they have some questions, have them funnel them up to you so you can ask. Okay. So if you do have that, that'd be great. Okay. So let's move forward with the PowerPoint as I got the chat and the Q&A open on my other monitor. So that's, you'll see my head keep bouncing over there because I'm just watching as you guys come through. All right. So what the heck is ZBrush? What is this thing? So we're pretty much, it's always so hard to explain for me too as a career with this. I've now been using ZBrush for 21 years. I want to say maybe 22, but I'm involved in development for the last 18 years. So our goal is constantly thinking about using the app as an artist for artists. So I myself went to school for special effects. That's what I've done. My whole life I've been an artist. And ZBrush was the way that gave me the ability to have this digital sculpting clay on a computer and turn in whatever you want. And now it's also available on iPad. I'm going to show you guys both the desktop and iPad in this meeting so you guys can get a full understanding here. So we were the first for a lot of things. It's the easiest thing is it's like a ball of clay or Play-Doh on your computer or iPad, right? That's what we are. We're known for innovation. We're known for millions of polygons being manipulated. We're in a lot of industries, more than people even know, which is great for you guys as instructors, is when you're talking to kids. I myself am an instructor. I myself have taught down all the way to middle school level, elementary even level, using ZBrush all the way through high school. So I get what you are doing for those that are instructors. But I can tell you this, when I spend a little bit of time talking about what you can do with ZBrush, the kids' eyes light up because then they see a path for them to be creative and do something different, maybe. Everybody wants to be in film and game, film and game, film and game, but that's not that everything's out there, right? So like I said in the bottom list, we're in like 10 plus different industries. So that is good to go. So I'm going to cover a little bit about this so you guys can kind of get a little bit of understanding here of what we do, right? So again, like I said, we just had our 25th anniversary of ZBrush, so it's actually been around that long. So, and then we've been known for innovation. So we've got 25 years of just development, innovation, things that we've done. And, these are things that just we're known for, right? So the first ZBrush was actually 1999, near the end of 99. Like October, November is when they finally started selling ZBrush. But 2000 was the year that kind of really made ZBrush a mark. And then we have just from then, there's just all these feature lists, which probably for some of you means nothing because it's all what the heck is a Dynamesh? It's just a word we like to make up, much like isoparm. When I learned what isoparm was in Maya 2.0, that was good times for me. But the idea here is you can just see year after year after year after year, we're trying to constantly develop things that are for artists that make a change to be creative within a system, right? And so leading all up to even last year. And I like to note out all the images I have in this PowerPoint are made in ZBrush. In fact, this was actually rendered in ZBrush as well. So this is another thing to show kids is that even though it is 3D, there are other things you can do with this, right? Obviously the last one had the Transformer movie. That obviously gets them excited. Like, yeah, this is what he was designed in was ZBrush. I know the artist very well too, and he did all the Transformers, from the last three movies, all their designs in ZBrush. This is taking advantage of our NPR ability in ZBrush and rendering out something that looks more like a 2D sketch, right? This is possible. This is things that we're capable, and this is the kind of stuff we like to do in this list of features, right? Just showing how much we are really, and then most of these features are just bullet features that I've put that kind of separated ZBrush from any other kind of sculpting application, what made us what we are today. Okay. So moving on, we were the first again to do a lot. We were the first really to allow millions of polygons. We were like tens of millions, even a couple million, having multiple resolutions of sculpting so I can play with something that's very less clay and then something that's got more clay and then be able to play with that. Allow people to just straight paint on a model as if we were trying to replicate real life, is what we're trying to replicate, right, with a computer. And then really taking advantage of the technologies that we have in computer systems, but also maintaining a version of ZBrush that still allows you to use systems that are even 8 years, 10 years old. You can still use ZBrush at a really high level, which is great for you guys as instructors when you're talking to your students, is letting them know, you don't need some crazy computer. You could walk into Best Buy, buy a laptop probably for $500 and you can use ZBrush. All right. So this is one of the separating things. Say to some other programs maybe that you guys are dabbing into, there could be some things. Hey, what kind of a video card you're using? ZBrush does not even use a video card, except for like three things there where we'll use it. And then we just continued like innovating. We're looking for single button solutions to make things easy. We're looking ways for people to use the UI, right? And because of all this and all this history, this led us to winning an Oscar where we won the plaque for including the creator and founder O'Farrell Lawn. We won in 2014 the Scientific Technology Academy Award. Again, these are buzz things that I think people at your administration level, letting you know, hey, look, this is an app that's an Oscar-winning app. This is an app that's used in everything. I think our kids would love this and be involved in this. I was lucky enough to go to this. I had a lot of pinch myself moment. In fact, I had to make the presentation to the academy in front of the entire academy and everybody else. So that's stuff I've had also lovely luxury of doing over my years. Right. So again, just to give you a gauge of when I say 10 industries, these are examples of ZBrush models, right, made in each one of these industries and how people go about them, right? These are, I would say, our 10 main ones. We're probably even a little bit more now. And this, again, is a way I know for me what's really landed for the middle schools, high schoolers, and college is 3D printing because then they physically hold it. I've just recently taught a class a couple of years ago at my daughter's school where I 3D printed everything off for the kids and they were just loving it. And I would say more than half of them got addicted that they just kept bringing me new models and asking me to print them for them. So I think that's a great way to get into this is like toy level, printing level, the comic book level. That I think it lands with younger generations and have an understanding that this is an app that allows your creation. And of course, video gaming and film. What film do you like and what game you like? Probably ZBrush was used in it most likely because we're pretty much in every film production and any game production. Right. So these are great things to share with, your administrators and your students. Continuing on, just giving you again some ideas of the major productions that ZBrush has been heavily involved in, right? These are just simple things. You name it, we're in it. Every Star Wars from this point on, even the helmets, you'll see that as we go along here. Black Panther, the most recent ones, even the Moana movie that's coming. There's so many things where ZBrush is being used. It's really, really pretty crazy. So what I wanted to do is take a little bit of time, even show some artists and give you guys just different things of how ZBrush. So this is Joe Mena. These are examples of work where he's using ZBrush. And in fact, he is the master engraver for the United States of America. So he holds the highest level in the United States of America at the Mint, as far as the persons that are responsible for making the coins. So he runs that entire team, and every coin that's made in the United States now probably goes through ZBrush. So does the Canadian Mint, UK Mint, Australian Mint, all got ZBrush being used. I myself have trained the Canadian Mint and the US Mint multiple times. But you can see this allows him also, his day job is creating coins for the United States or other countries for that matter. But then his side work and side jobs as well, he's got a secondary job where he's doing collectibles like Yoda and Boba Fett and the Captain America and the Joker. Like this is extra work he's doing because he's a ZBrush user. Like it's allowing him to do stuff at home. And I think this is the kind of stuff that also is great to really showcase some things to your students to get them excited to want to learn also and dive in. One of the biggest names, if not probably the biggest name in ZBrush world, is this gentleman, Raphael Grassetti. He's amazing, silly, silly, silly talented. So you can see even that comic book cover, that Superman, that's ZBrush, right? So he's been contracted out by Marvel and DC to make special edition covers where those covers are actually done in ZBrush and even rendered in ZBrush. And then that's the cover, right? I got a bunch sitting over here that he's given me. But obviously God of War game, he was the art director for the most recent one. Collectibles, 3D printing, and then just concepting and artwork. That's it. Like he does it all. Very talented. But again, this is just trying to show you guys the breadth of what you can do in ZBrush. Marco Plouffe, amazing artist, and he is near and dear to my heart because I've known him since he's a kid, and now he's one of the biggest artists. But his work goes also other avenues where we're not just an application that people are using to make creatures and monsters. We're also used to hard surface. We're using many different ways, which I'm going to show you a little bit more here as we go. Right. So there's some really big collectible pieces in here. There's just some examples of breadth of organic to hard surface. Someone like this as well. And then you got artists like Eric Keller, who is known for just all over the spectrum. Like he's bug guy, as we like to call him. He's very like, I want to make bugs. And to the point where this is being used in medical illustrations, medical books, and we are on the main products. In fact, for medical illustrators in the world, Maxon itself, the three main applications that they use more than anything are ZBrush, Cinema 4D, and Redshift. Like that is their entire pipeline workflow of making. So if you go grab a magazine, a medical journal, or something like that, now it's probably most likely been ZBrush and Cinema 4D. Like it's not hand drawing like hand drawings always now. So you can see he's done jewelry, which ZBrush is widely used for. He did stuff for NASA. He did stuff for here in LA, in the to do the planetary stuff and all that. He worked. It's just the spectrum. This is also the point. ZBrush is not about building it for a particular industry. It's about building it for an artist and who we are, right? Which goes into things like Jessica Drew here, who's actually a ZBrush artist out of Blizzard, who also makes her own clothing, 3D prints them. She does other stuff like. This is an example of something that somebody made that she ended up being the model for as well, where it's fashion. She is wearing that, and that was done in ZBrush, and then it was 3D printed, right? Which goes back to, Black Panther. His suit was designed in ZBrush. And his is not the only one. The Superman suit, everything was all designed in ZBrush, right? This is actually the ZBrush sculpt and a render, right? That this is easier for them to design this and figure this stuff out in digital. And then instead of sitting there trying to necessarily always start with a process of getting right into the cloth, getting in the metals, there's a process now where ZBrush has become this application to allow freedom for us. Freedom! Wherever we want to go. That's not in the 80s, right? To the point where obviously the reboot of RoboCop, this is an example. Legacy Effects is one of the main studios that really takes advantage of this. But, at RoboCop, there was two suits. It was done by two artists, and both artists use ZBrush, and they use other programs for sure as well, like Moe, which is a CAD program, but they also do use ZBrush in their pipeline, and that is a pass that this artist does over. I just saw a new piece he just posted yesterday, and the piece was just his ZBrush pass showing what he did in ZBrush. Okay. So, ZBrush obviously being in film and game is where it got its name, where people started going, okay, this is not just some toy. This is an app that allows me to really have freedom, allows me to get things. So what we have today in film and game, I would be honestly to say ZBrush is a big reason why we get the details that we get. It is the one of the main reasons why we get the characters that we get quality-wise in films and games, because it was an app that revolutionized and changed. And this is why it won the Oscar plaque. We changed the film industry and the way people process and the way they made their pipeline completely changed and went this other way once ZBrush came on, within it. Same thing for games. We completely change. And you'll probably notice with things like Unreal, they'll now even say, here's a ZBrush model, I'm plopping it on Unreal, and now I'm just rotating around. And I've done nothing to it. It's just straight out of ZBrush, right? We're pretty much a verb and a noun at this day and age, to the point where we were even, there was one movie, and what is it? We have a ghost in the attic, where they thinking like they're watching the YouTube video and they're saying that's got to be either Maya or ZBrush, right? We've gotten to that point, and the point here I'm just really trying to is we're the standard. That's what ZBrush is, which is why you want to teach something like ZBrush, right? This gives us, again, looking at this, it's all about these crazy details, about really honing in on things as well, going simplistic, like in the bottom left, or going all the way now, getting super extreme. We're using all the AAA game studios. We're using all the major publications. It's just an app of choice to use. So if you guys are teaching gaming, this is an app that is a must-use app within a gaming and film pipeline, as an example, right? And then, in fact, for toys as well, I don't know any toy company now that isn't really using ZBrush. Almost everybody is using ZBrush. And I've helped out all the big boys, Hasbro, Mattel, everybody. It's just, we're being used, excuse me, in so many different ways, right? And we are constantly looking at things that we can make and create. How do we integrate with pipelines? What do we do with pipelines? Okay, and how would it go? Again, this is another ZBrush example of someone loving the Spider-Man movie, which was amazing. This is fan art. So really awesome to see, right? And then you go into things like this, Star Wars, but doing a toy. So this is Hasbro, right? Making Rey and having to do it. Well, they're using ZBrush to do it. Even the articulation points and things like that, ZBrush. I myself have done a lot of toys personally for Hasbro, Disney, and I can do everything right inside of ZBrush if I wanted to, right? So instead of going this old route that used to be there artistically with clay or wax, they're now really focused on, hey, I'm going to push a digital element. And I would say, unfortunately, the clay and wax way of working, making a toy has kind of died off, and it's all digital now. Like very rare would they use something like clay, but I still think a student should play a little bit in there, get an understanding what that is, get some tools, because our goal was to replicate that clay and wax world inside of ZBrush, right? So there was a lot of things why they changed this that you guys can see here. They would lose data, like shipping, the whole toy would be gone, it'd get damaged. It'd take way more weeks to do stuff. Now it takes hours or days to make tweaks, or even minutes, right? So this is why ZBrush has gotten into these particular pipelines and particular studios. It's created this faster pipeline, faster workflow, moving quicker, having iterations, and moving within the departments from wherever they're going, right? We're even to the point where I've had no Hasbro's even use ZBrush to do the packaging itself. I've helped Disney do packaging itself where they're using ZBrush, because if I got a 3D model, it's nothing to render out and make it look like a 2D model. It's super simple, super easy. And in fact, I'll pull up a model that I've been doing in my streams on Fridays, and you can see what I mean by that. And so we're just looking at what features and tools, looking at rapid prototyping as an example. That was one of the first projects I ever did 18 years ago, is we made tools that involved ZBrush being part of that 3D printing rapid prototyping world. We saw the writing on the wall. We saw this as an opportunity for artists to be creative and then physically hold in their hand from a print, which is, I myself have 3 3D printers right here in my space. So I'm a little obsessed, not that much obsessed. I used to have 4, okay? So I've donated a couple actually over the last 2 years. Okay, so I'm continuing thinking about features that speed up the process, give the ability for people to do this where they can have characters and put them in fun places. Okay. So I want to now spend some time inside of ZBrush so that we're not just sitting here looking at a PowerPoint and having really an understanding. And hopefully this will spark some more questions for you all as well. I'm just going to quickly do a little change in my space because I need to pull my Cintiq towards me a little bit more. Any questions so far that come up? I haven't seen anything come through. Everyone's good as I take a
No
swing.
questions so far, Paul.
I'm that boring. Thanks everybody for coming. All right. Raise your hand if you're snoring already. Good. Thank you. Look up here. Just making sure everyone's awake. Okay, so for example, we have a channel called ZBrushLive.com, which is also it's on our YouTube and goes to our Twitch. So again, the stuff I was talking about of being able to do certain things that we want to be able to do. I am currently streaming live where I'm kind of making something from scratch and I want to showcase this. And I've decided this is, I'm a big 80s kid again, Johnny number 5, right? So this, if you notice, it looks like more of a tune shaped, but really what's doing that is this material that I have, right? Okay. So I've got a bunch of different things happening through here. So if I change this out to something else, you can see it's just a 3D model. Okay. But I've made a point that, hey, I want this tune looking thing, right, to have happening for me. And then this is now I'm building in this way because my ultimate goal is kind of turn this guy into maybe more of like a sticker or something like that, right? And then when I render, I want different things to start happening and going through, right? And then now you can see a render pass comes into play, and this is just a fun way of doing things for me, right? And really allowing me to be a little different creative, even though I'm using 3D, I still have this ability to create this 2D looking element, right? And with that said, we're very big on, hey, trying to help you out as much as possible to kind of get to results as fast as I can. So what I mean by that is if I want to play a little bit more with this, we have other filters that, hey, yeah, I kind of want to make it look like a blueprint. So I just load it, boom, it looks like a blueprint. And then there's different types of blueprints here, right? And it's just, this is kind of why we've gotten into the medical world, why I've gotten into animations, comic books. We're trying to make things as fast and as easy as you can to just kind of have really unique, right? There's a couple pencil ones in here, watercolor stuff in here. Like there's all these little filters that I can go and say, make it look kind of like very different, right? Depending on what I want it to do, right? That's more of a line art, different type of line art. There's some pencil ones down here. So it looks more like even me when I was a kid, drawing on those pieces of paper in class, not paying attention to you, unfortunately, right? Like that, right? You wouldn't know that's necessarily done in a 3D application, right? So these are kind of things that we do. And again, why I'm saying we make ZBrush not for a film industry, game industry, all these industries per se. We're making it for artistic ability. And we just fit within all these pipelines and all these ways to be creative, right? That's what we're all about. And make
Paul,
yes, go ahead.
did you see Diane's question? Did you paint this robotic model with the orange to give it the 2D look or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, here, you know what? We can recreate this, from scratch a little bit. Okay. So this is easy to do. We'll just recreate it all from scratch. So you really fast so you can see. In fact, I'm going to open one. I think I got a little bit further along. Pay no attention to my horrible naming conventions. That doesn't count, people. I'm an artist. I'm not a writer. I am a creator. Not really. I hope I am one day. Let's see. Let's go with this one. Let me load this one up. There we go. Okay, so this is my current state where he's at, right? So again, I streamed all this, so you can even see me create him from scratch, from nothing, okay? So here, I'm going to turn everything off. So this is what I have, right? So this is a model where I can sculpt. So like if I want to grab like something that's called like putting down clay strips, like clay buildup, I can just see lay down strips of clay, and then I can hold the shift key and I can start smoothing out that clay, hold the alt key and I can dig into that clay, right? This is the flexibility and freedom of one. I'll grab a sphere, even do something in front of you. But to give you a quick understanding, all I want to do is tell, for example, this material, okay, I want it to say, hey, I want, you know what, I'm going to go more the toon route way. So I'm going to modify my material and I'm going to tell them the material diffuse part of it to actually have stepping to it. So you can see our graph now went from a nice ramp to now it's very harsh, right? So now I've got, in essence, no shading diffuse and all of a sudden 100% shading diffuse, right? Which is then creating posterization. That's what's happening. It's creating what we would say posterizing. And then what we've done is say, how many steps do you want? Do I want 4 steps? Do I want 6 steps? Right? And obviously, the more steps I'm putting in, you can see in this area right here, you're just getting more steps. Now everyone's awake, right? Right in here, right? And I can say, no, that's not what I want. I want 2. Now, because ZBrush is also a sculpting app, that's also a painting app for that orange that you were bringing up, I would say, okay, this is, in essence, this is the jacket, what it looks like, right? Then I say, I want that jacket to be orange. So all I have to do is start changing this color, and you'll see it gets spread across the entire model. I can even click and drag and say, let's take the ZBrush orange, and then there is the ZBrush orange. And then now what you want to look at this, think about it in your 2D world, right? When you guys are in Photoshop, you're making layers. And in every layer, you're going to paint something, right? Or do something, a mask or whatever it might be. Think about that's kind of what this is, except it's not necessarily layers. It's obviously meshes that are sitting there. But what I want to do is now this mesh, which is my jacket, it's a blank canvas for paint right now, material. And I want to fill it with this. In essence, I want to spread the paint all over this and this type of material all over it. So on the top, you can either sculpt or paint or both at the same time in ZBrush. I'm going to say right here where we got M stands for material, RGB is color, red, green, blue. MRG is both. So I'm going to tell ZBrush with this brush selected, I can add paint like this, okay? But I can also sculpt with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it in the color palette to fill the object now with the color I have selected, and then also fill it with the material. So now if I switch colors, you'll notice everything else changes, but the jacket does not change. Because now the jacket, and now I can paint just blue in areas if I want, right? If I want to do this. And now I'm painting and sculpting at the same time, right? And so this is all I did. I made a material like this. Now I'm already in this live toon look mode, okay? And then I have the ability to render, obviously, in ZBrush. We have 2 different renderers in ZBrush. We have Redshift, which is a photorealistic renderer, and then we have our own render, which I'm going to render with right now, which is we call PBR. And then now this is a filtering system. And just like you guys do in Photoshop, you have filters. We're doing the same thing in our render system where we have filter passes. And with each one, I have something different, right? So this is an outline edge. So here I'll change the color so you guys even see craziness. So you see, this is just making that outline edge white. Like I'm turning him into a sticker in essence, right? So I want an outside edge of a sticker. So he starts looking like a sticker. This one's sharpening up. So if I turn it off, it'll just be very subtle, but it's just making it sharpen. This is adding an Orton to brighten it up. And then this is adding a blur, which I'll show you how beneficial this is. This is an outline edge, so this is what's making it look even more toon-like. Okay? And then for example, if I blur this up, okay, like this, and then let's say I want to change the blurriness, I want it to start getting blurry there and go really blurry there, right? I can change the depth of all of this live by click and dragging, and it's affecting the overall model of where I want things to have happen, right? So things are getting more blurry and it's allowing me to focus in on it. So I've got the blur way turned up craziness. And the thing I want to highlight, this is all real time as well, right? In this filtering system. So this is kind of how I got to that point. And just the way I used that. And just like I saw someone also said makeup, and they're using it for makeup, for scanning actors, sculpting the prosthetics and 3D printing, and then molds. Yeah, I was just talking to another artist that's in the film industry doing some stuff like that. Okay. So definitely something ZBrush is known for and part of the process. Okay. So again, let's switch to something. Let's get away from this guy a little bit. and figure out, okay, well, how do I start? How do I get creative? This is kind of how I would start with maybe a character like that. I need to start thinking about ways to do that. So if I'm thinking first organic, okay, I would say I start wanting to think about, I want to replicate as if this is a little ball of clay in my hand, and I want to start doing a human head. I want to start moving the surface around. Okay, but just like in real life, when we start moving things around, especially things like clay, what happens? The clay, if we keep pulling and pulling, is eventually going to break because it gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. So we have this also digitally, where we have what we call polygons, right? Where I can really stretch these out, right? So these are all stretched. So one of the process of, hey, I not only want to smooth it, I want consistent clay here. So no matter where I sculpt, I want clay. So I'm going to tell ZBrush to re-look at the model and reevaluate it. So for example, if I decided to really dig into a surface, so let's go here and say, I want to dig, 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 right? You can see it's really destroying this. Well, I can tell ZBrush with the flick, no, go fix that for me because I want to continue sculpting, right? So if I want to like start making a skull, it's about, I start looking at the views and say, okay, this is this side. I would say, okay, let's switch to just a moving brush. I've got symmetry, so whatever I do on one side with the brushes, it's going to do it to the other side, okay? So I would want to start now forming this out. This is why we start making tools like this. I can start looking at the silhouette of this character and really start to hone this in, okay? Now, I've made a lot of skulls over my years in life, so I've got a general pretty good understanding of a skull. I've got a bunch of things around here in my office where I can look at to really get a gauge of what should this skull really, what are the main parameters of the skull, right? So, but what we've also done is I'm going to switch to, let's go here to the grids, and I'm going to load this. So this is actually a ZBrush sculpt, excuse me, by a ZBrush artist that now it's on this planing here, okay? So I'm going to use it to my benefit. Or I'm going to now dock this just so we can see this in here. And I'm going to say, let's look through the model. Excuse me, sorry. And then let's snap it to all. So now it's snapped. And now you can see I can look through and really start lining this up better. Excuse me, sorry. So if even I come on a perspective, I can really orthographically see where my general skull needs to live, right? So the benefit is go with a really big brush size if I'm using my hands, both hands, and just start making this match close enough to like a skull. Like this is how easy it can be. In fact, this is my first lesson for all kids for the first time in ZBrush. And in fact, I don't show them this in the first class. I on purpose don't show them this because I don't want them to get engulfed with this. Like what I'm trying to do, just try to match all this up so perfectly. They get too consumed with that, honestly. And I give them like a timer and say, okay, you guys got 15 minutes to make a skull. That's it. It doesn't matter where you get, just start learning how to switch brushes, start learning the navigation, start learning what we're doing. Okay. And what's nice about this is I can even do things like this where the image is now projecting to the model, right? And now I can just move this around and even look at the image this way, where I'm no longer seeing the image like on a plane. It's actually on the model itself. So if I keep moving this around, look, if I keep going, see, you'll see the image again. So this clearly gives me an indicator of where I want to stop. Okay. And these are the kind of things we start to think about because it's more of an artistic approach of the way we want to like start attacking a sculpt. Okay. And start moving through things. And even to these lines that are shooting off, this allows me, hey, if I'm sitting here, right? Okay, and here's where the orbital bone, right? I could just start, working on this. Okay, and say, okay, let's just start pushing this area in right here to kind of match this image, right? And then I can start seeing here and saying, how does that lining up at an angle? You can see my red line, my green line, and blue line start matching up, right? So this is for me what the power of ZBrush is. Like, I just want to be free. I just want to start sculpting and start working on things and just start building up a surface, start bringing some character to life, start doing things, right? And then there's going to be levels, even like me. I am no Raphael Grassetti. I am no Marco Plouffe. I am no Eric Cowell. Some of those artists I shared with you, right? I am not anywhere near that talented, not even close. I have dreams of being that talented, but now I'm too old, so who knows? I just cry and taste salt in the morning, right? So so this is just me, understanding my anatomy of a skull and getting people to, start, how do you start blocking this out, right? And really fast, it starts to become a skull, right? It's even if it's not perfect yet, we could give this to somebody and somebody would say, that's starting to look like a human skull. Okay. And then that is what our number one thing is. How do I get to this as fast as I can that I am starting to block out something that looks like where my end result is going to be? Okay. And then this is giving us the ability to constantly keep adding clay, taking clay away. And then this is where I start thinking about other brushes as well, right? I start saying, hey, I want to start making this a little bit more hard lined here, right? That needs to be a little bit more harsh there, right? I want the mandible really to kind of come out there, really land that. Maybe I want the zygomatic arch to come off a little bit more, and then start doing this, right? And then start getting that down, right? I don't like what's happening here, so I would probably cut this down a little bit and then switch to that view. There, that's a little bit better. Again, I'm switching between Alt key, Shift key. Like I'm trying to move as fast as I can, right? And the goal of something like this would be, hey, if I put things in the right spot, putting a nose on if this is right, I just have to do this, and then boom, we got a nose, right? So this is part of the journey for us, right? Being able to do this kind of stuff, right? So I've already got a nose just by me just doing something. And it's only because I started putting the bony landmarks where they should be going and how it should be. And then that's going to come to life. And then boom, I got a nose, right? Same thing now is I want an ear. That's a lot more complex. So this is why we're like, okay, not all of us are going to be able to sculpt things really fast. So this is why we start giving other brushes and other things to allow freedom for artists to do. So for example, I want an ear. Well, we have pre-made stuff that I could literally just say, okay, the ear needs to live right there. And then there's the ear. And now I've got, boom, already a character coming to life for us. And that's really what I want to keep stressing and hitting home with. I want this character to start living different, right? There's these fun eyeballs too, if I wanted to put some crazy eyeballs in there, right? There's a whole bunch of things. There's a pig nose in here. There's a dog nose in here. There's just different types of brushes in here with so many different elements, right? This is like a fin. I don't know. Maybe he's not human. He wants to have some fin coming off the back of his head, right? So I don't know. It's my world there, right? Or maybe it's going to be a lizard guy and you want to start putting scales all over the head. There's just so many things that, again, it's about exploring. It's about seeing where is this character actually, what's it looking like, right? And then there's different mouths in here as well. There's just a whole bunch of different things in here, right? But I can also, as an artist, just start, mapping out. Again, if I know a little bit about anatomy, right, I can just start placing things where I want them to be, right? And start honing and start placing really quickly, make what I want to start coming to life. And then again, I start putting in some of the muscles. And then boom, within minutes, you can get a character starting to happen. Now it's starting to look like Toy Story. Fixing Woody here. It's fixing Woody, right? So now the thing that made ZBrush this was this ability to allow me to just kind of edit this out and really bring a character to life for me, right? But there's a point where I do kind of reach a clay plateau. So I might want to get more clay. which in this mode I am is definitely possible to get to. So this is called Dynamesh. So I can say right now the resolution is 64. It goes up to 4,000. Let's just put it at 300 for now. And now what I have is much more density. Okay. So when I go now to say, let me really get the peak of that mouth, right? You can see it really starts to hone up that something like that. And then I can build out that lip a little bit more now that I want, smooth it back, right? And then now this is going to allow me to just get a greater detail, right? And this is what I need. This is my next phase in becoming a sculptor, right? Is I need to now start putting in some of these other details that makes this come to life, right? And that is what our focus is how do you as an artist kind of push the element? And then this is the kind of thing that I see lands really well with students is just showing them the flexibility, the freedom that they get. And then, like I said, I'm telling you, and like I said, oh yeah, like, by the way, we're gonna 3D print this out and you can take it home to your parents. Like that always lands so well and also really helps the parents understand kind of what are you teaching and what are they using and what can they do with this for a career or a life if they did want to pursue this, right? So this is the kind of stuff that we want to be able to do. I can smooth out surfaces, right? And then now it's all smoothing out. I can, if I want to, switch to a brush where, hey, let's drop some eyeballs in. Then I can say, let's drop an eyeball in like this. Where does that sit? Okay, where do I want that to sit? Just kind of move that in space, put that where I want. And then there's maybe where I want my eyeballs to sit. And then what I'm going to do is tell it, you know what I want to do is I want to split them off so the eyeballs are their own, right? Surface, mesh, volume. That right? This is some of the stuff now we can't do as easily in real world clay, right? Most old artists would use like an actual silver ball for the eyes, as an example. So that's kind of where I'm getting this idea from is this is what we would do in the real life, real world. We would grab like a silver little ball and then position it where we want and then start building clay up around it, right? That's kind of what I would start to do. So this is giving me that ability. And then anytime I can go back to this model, and then because we're digital, I can even look through it. Right. Again, if I start building up some clay in here, you're going to see there's a point where see it starts to, right, we'll redynamesh this. So now if I turn off the ghosting, right, you can see now this is creating now, starting to create that upper eyelid that I would want on this character. Right. And what I'm pulling on, obviously, is the mesh underneath, right? I'm pulling on the face. I'm not touching the eyeball right now. I'm just starting to pull some clay out and obviously now start to build out that orbital bone a little bit more so that we can start getting a better quality human face in here, right? And I love that my old school eye squinting stuff still comes into play. I can't get rid of it. It's just something I've always done, especially in my days of drawing. Okay, and just looking at the time. Okay, we got time still. Right, and again, even though I'm getting a lot more detail, today world, we want even more detail than this. Like this is not going to cut it, right? So this is also then where ZBrush became known as an application that gives me a power to really get the things that I want to get at, okay? So this is then the next stage is I've got this really dense, more dense mesh. It's not even that dense. It's sitting at 645,000 polygons, right? And you can see that. So what I want to start to do now here is come out of this mode and pipeline wise, we'd want probably a mesh now that's kind of more clean and even starting to follow the stuff I put in the sculpt. So again, that one button solution stuff is what we're constantly doing. I want to now remesh this to make it a better quality. So we've got a Z remesher, you just click one button. So we're going to go from 645,000 probably to around 23,000-ish somewhere around there, I would say. Ooh, I was way off. 11,000, right? And now we have this, but now you can see it's very low polygon. Why do I care? Because when something is low, low, low polygon, then you can make big, big changes. But what I can do is still divide up, divide up, divide up, right? Divide up. Now I'm at 2.8 million. I can divide again. Now I'm at 11 million. I can divide again. Now I'm going to be around 45 million. There, I'm at 45 million polygons. Run smooth. It's like butter. But what am I going to get with this now is crazy amount of detail. Like if I cut into the clay, I am getting really, really defining areas of accenting that I could do, right? If I grab this clay buildup where I'm laying strips of clay, you really see these strips of clay being laid down. And if I try to smooth, it isn't going to smooth so nicely. So that's why we allowed us to walk down, or now I can be at a lower level and kind of just slowly, I just want those to be a little bit more of an accent, not as much as I did. And when I walk up, it will retain and remember previous, and then I can keep playing with that surface, right? This is kind of what made ZBrush put it on the map, made people pay attention to it, made people go, okay, this is an app I really need to start to learn. Like it's just making sense in the things that you can do. I should be doing this, right? And then just like things like Photoshop, I can also mask off the surface. So if I really want this lip to be kind of accented, or I'll hide the mask. You can see when I get close to the edge, see it's just really popping that because there's a mask here on this other side here, right? That ZBrush is not allowed to touch, right? So now, boom, you can see that is coming. I'm pretty proud of this head actually that we sculpted here really quick. Okay, so this is the process. I also looking at the time, I wanted to take a moment to also show you guys the iPad version. Would you guys like that so you can kind of see, because that only has been released since 2024 in September, so it's only been out for a year and a half. And I would say this is going to land even really well with kids today because they all have the phones, the touches, and all this, and then having an iPad, it's portable and you can be off and running. So if that's okay, I'm going to switch to iPad. Everyone okay? Because I have,
Looks like it.
yeah, I've got silence. Am I boring? Is this not any fun?
We've got a yes, please. iPad,
Okay.
double
Okay.
exclamation
Okay.
point.
All right. All right. Let me show you because the UI is going to be very different because we made a point of understanding, hey, we're on an iPad now. That's a different world. And we also did announce recently that we are now looking into what we're going to do with our UI for the desktop because we've learned a lot from the iPad version. And we want to take what we've learned and seeing how we can kind of take what we've learned from iPad, what we have for desktop. How do we kind of mirror all this and make this all come together so that eventually there's just one UI, not two UIs. So here is the iPad version. Obviously, very touch oriented. This is an example of a model that I'm making for a special workshop for Gnomon here. And then again, you can see all hard surface, 100% done in ZBrush. Okay. If you don't have a keyboard hooked up, not a big deal. We have this thing where we want to be able to hold this down. So here's my shift key for smoothing, control key for masking, alt key is my opposite. Spacebar pulls up a menu that I can actually cycle through different menus, go up and down. Right, we're trying to make things be accessible. We're allowing customization where I can customize these bars, how I want them to customize as well. I can flick it and have it be on the bottom, flick it and have it be on the top. Have stuff where we can rip it off and have it floating. We call this a tray. Really trying to give this feeling to a user where I can keep adding what I want and can say, okay, I've got some of my custom menus, give me custom 2, and then give me custom 5, right? And then I have this stuff here, right? And I'm now just using, so the blue dots are my fingers. So I can just use my finger to do all my rotation and navigation. It opens us up for things like long pressing. I can long press and get options to pop up right there. Okay. I see a question coming through as well. How versatile is ZBrush if I want to incorporate it in my workflow? From what I understand, ZBrush can handle extremely high polygon counts. Yes. However, I want to use a combination of program. My pipeline, let's say, create a character in ZBrush. Rig in Maya, how does that polygon convert? Totally fine. That is the major pipeline, right? So that's where subdivision levels come into play. That's where I'm going to have on my model the high fidelity, millions of polygons, but there's also a version of that same model where it's thousands of polygons. Then that's what gets sent to Maya. That builds the rig. Then you can also pose it, and then you're going to render if you're going to stay in Maya, you'll render it out, and then you're going to create displacement maps, normal maps out of ZBrush that just goes into Maya. You hit render, and it'll look like the ZBrush model, right? This would be a workflow pipeline that would be possible to do, not just with Maya, but any other 3D application. You can even pose in ZBrush as well. Like I don't miss my rig days that I used to do animations, but we can also pose, right? Because we allow like things to be used here as well. So let's see, like this, I can pose off and see I can start moving the arms around, right? I don't have to build a rig if I don't want to build a rig across that. So there's just multiple ways for me to do this. But again, we also looking again on the iPad. I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like I'm working anymore when I'm on the iPad because I'm probably never at what I'm doing right now at my desk when I'm using the iPad. I'm in my bed, I'm on the couch, I'm in a car, I'm on a plane, I'm on a train, like I'm outside. I'll just go outside here in my backyard and sit there and sculpt now, right? And then we wanted to take advantage of our ability to have, you know, having this touch. So what I mean by that, I can start playing with this. I can change my draw size with touch. I'm using 3 fingers to go up and down, 3 fingers to change my focal shift, just like you guys have in Photoshop, right? And go smaller, right? And then I start doing stuff like this, maybe start accenting these pieces. And if I change my mind, I can tap twice. I mean, I can tap once with 2 fingers, undo, right? Keep going through the complete undo. 3 fingers, tap is redo.
Hey, Paul, quick question
Yes.
from Diane, who asks, if we have ZBrush on a PC and want to download it on an iPad as well, would that be a different license to access it on the iPad?
Okay, so great question to ask. So there's a free version of ZBrush on iPad. So you can get right into ZBrush for iPad for free. You don't even need a license. You just won't be able to take the model out of ZBrush. And we don't give you every single feature. We give you the guts of a lot of the good features, like Dynamesh is there, Sculptris Pro is there, even ZRemesh is there, but we limited those features. Now, if you have a license that is let's just say it is a regular individual ZBrush license, with that license, you automatically get an activation on your desktop, an activation on the iPad, and Redshift. So you get 2 programs, 3 activations if you have a ZBrush license. Now, if you guys are using your school license and it's a floating, you don't get a ZBrush iPad license. You would have to subscribe to get the full ZBrush version. Okay. But you can get a free version without going paying anything on the iPad side. But those are some options. So I don't know if maybe I'm not sure if you have a floating license, and then getting models back and forth through iPad to desktop is actually super, super easy. Right here, I've put export it, right? And what it's going to look for, it's looking for a ZBrush version to communicate with. So here, for example, here, I got to minimize this for us so you guys can see what's happening. So here's my iPad, okay, version. And then you see right there, that is this computer in the background. So I can tell ZBrush, I want you to send this to the desktop system. So we're using networking to send this. So it's seeing all the ZBrushes and Cinema 4Ds that are open and running on the network, and then sending it through the network to your ZBrushes. Even if it's desktop or iPad, it doesn't matter. I can go from desktop to iPad, iPad to desktop, as an example. Okay. So that's what it's looking to do. And then vice versa, right? I can say, hey, we call this Go Z. I want to Go Z to the iPad. So we have a button right here, and then it's going to pop up and say, okay, show me the iPads. I can tell it to refresh. There is my iPad, right? And then I say, yeah, go ahead, send it to that iPad. Okay. And then that's the iPad. As you can see, it's sending it to. And I'm not doing any file transfer like by, cloud-based or anything like that. It's just from computer to computer is what I'm doing. And then now if we switch to my iPad as an example, look, see the model's now in my iPad. And now I can sculpt in here and continue on and go back and forth between the two. It's not going to matter. This is the synergy we wanted. This is kind of where we're going, what we wanted to do. When we did the iPad, we did not strip it down. We did not simplify in the sense of ZBrush itself. It is ZBrush. The features are the features. They're there. They're there. Not every single feature's on the iPad yet, but I would say 80% of it's there. Um, and I thought the team killed it. We've done a fantastic job, really nailing it. Right. And you look, this is 45 million on my iPad, and it's butter. It's fine. Okay. I'm gonna be able to sculpt just fine with this. No problem. Okay.
Paul, in follow-up to the pipeline question before,
Uh-huh.
we got another question. Can we do the opposite where you import a high polygon model from another program like Blender and remesh it in ZBrush?
Yes. 100%. Yeah. ZBrush will take anything that you throw at it, right? Each mesh we do have a polygon limit plateau, which is you're not going to be able to get to in Blender. Blender can't do this on a single mesh, 100 million polygons. So as far as I know, it doesn't. Maybe it does if you have a really crazy, really good video card. Maybe it does. I'm not sure. And that'd be something you have to look into. But yeah, you can go up to 100 million polygons per mesh. So if I got 50 meshes, each one of them can be 100 million polygons. Right. So for example, the very first model that was ever made on the iPad version, it was 145 million polygons across like 12 meshes, something like that. So yeah, you can go that way. In fact, ZBrush is very popular for scan data, which is usually very dense. It's usually 40, 50, 60 million. You plop it in. And in fact, since we're here, we've even made the iPad version. Would be a fun thing for you guys. You can literally do photogrammetry. I can turn on my camera and I could capture I'm attached to the computer right now. I can scan. That's a 3D print, by the way, of my gremlin that I also painted in ZBrush. I can start to scan this with the iPad. You see, look, it's looking for a bounding box, right? And I can adjust them, which I'm attached to the computer, so it's really hard to do this attached to the computer because it's meant to be, right? See, look, I can adjust my bounding box. This is telling ZBrush what to start looking at when you start doing the photogrammetry, right? And then I say start capturing. You can see it's starting to try and capture and take photos, which is going to be a 3D model. And this will get dropped right into ZBrush and you can start sculpting on it, right? We just added that ability in ZBrush. In fact, here's some scans that were done with ZBrush, right? So here's another one. This is just using what I just showed you, right? This is photogrammetry scans done in ZBrush. Like, got a colleague of mine that went to a park. And then, like, this is what the iPad's also giving us. I can't be mobile with my big, huge 36-inch monitor. I can with an iPad, though. Okay. Oh, great
That's
to
an
hear that you've been using
amazing
it. Yeah.
add-on.
Yes.
All right. Well, Paul, I know we're right over a couple minutes in time, but I want to make sure that we finish on time or near. Paul, did you have anything else that you wanted to share with the rest of the group before we
No,
wrap up?
again, if you guys again want to reach up and you have more questions about your licensing and things like that, things like that here, I'll put it in the chat so you guys can copy and paste. I'll give you my email address once again. So you have that, so you guys can take that and you can email me. Just remind me where you met me, right? So that I know where I met you. And again, we're all about art. We're all about also kids, and what you guys do and supporting artists and community members and what we're doing. We're here to help. I'm not the only one doing this. I'm not the only one part of the ZBrush team. It's really important to me as a person that's been involved in the community and the application to always constantly be giving back, embracing, supporting. How can we all move together? Because all we want to do is create artwork, right? And I just happen to be lucky enough to be part of a team that creates the features that allows us to create the artwork. So I'm here to help. And if I can't get you the answers and if somebody else is going to hand you off in the company, then I can at least hand you off in the company to where they need to go.
Thank you so much for being part of our speaker series, Paul, and for offering your personal contact for anyone to reach out to with any further questions. What a great and powerful tool for digital sculpting. I've learned a lot. I'm sure everyone in our audience has as well. So thank you again, Paul. Folks, I do want to remind you, our BRIC Summit is coming up, our biggest event of the year, once again, at the end of next month. So Talent and Education Day as part of the BRIC Summit is coming up on March 29th. If you enjoyed, learning about ZBrush, learning about these industry standard programs, you can do more of that at the BRIC Summit. It's free to attend, free to join. So you can sign up in the link in the chat. So Paul, thank you so much again for joining us. Folks, we hope to see you in the next session in 2 weeks, where we'll explore the student's path to careers in Unreal Engine. So if you're interested in that, please make sure to RSVP. All right. Thanks, everyone, for your time. And thanks again, Paul, for joining us today.
You got it. Thank you for coming.
Bye, all.
Bye.